Andy Gibb was the star who shined too bright and faded far too soon. For decades, fans of the youngest Gibb brother have asked the same haunting question: what really happened to him? His meteoric rise in the late 1970s seemed unstoppable, yet by the end of the 1980s, Andy was gone, taken at just 30 years old. The official explanation was heart failure, but the whispers never stopped. Only years later would the full truth finally emerge, and it was far worse than anyone could have imagined. Andy Gibb was born Andrew Roy Gibb on March 5, 1958 in Manchester, England. He was the youngest of the Gibb brothers, a family whose name was already becoming legendary in music. His older brothers, Barry, Robin, and Maurice, had already achieved global success as the Bee Gees, but Andy was destined to carve out his own extraordinary path. His childhood was split between England and Australia after the family relocated in the mid-1960s. This gave him a unique blend of cultures and experiences that shaped his outlook on life and his artistic journey. From an early age, Andy displayed a natural gift for music. His boyish charm, effortless charisma, and warm voice hinted at the star he was destined to become. By the mid-1970s, Andy's career took flight. With the guidance and songwriting brilliance of his brothers, he launched his debut album, Flowing Rivers, in 1977. It produced two massive US #1 hits, I Just Want to Be Your Everything and Love is Thicker Than Water. These weren't just songs, they were emotional pop anthems that defined the late 70s, instantly cementing Andy as a rising star. His silky falsetto and heartfelt delivery set him apart, making him one of the most distinctive voices of the era. His success only grew. In 1978, Andy released Shadow Dancing, and its title track became his third consecutive US #1 hit. At just 20 years old, he was one of the youngest artists in history to achieve such a feat. Suddenly, Andy Gibb wasn't just a singer, he was a teen idol. Adored for his looks, charm, and personality, he became a household name. Television appearances on shows like Solid Gold and The Love Boat made him even more recognizable, while his high-profile romance with actress Victoria Principal only fueled the public's fascination. But fame came with shadows. Behind the scenes, Andy was struggling with addiction. By the early 1980s, his life began to unravel. He was unreliable, missing shows, rehearsals, and commitments. Producers and directors grew frustrated, leading to him being dropped from major opportunities like The Pirates of Penzance and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Even his co-hosting role on Solid Gold slipped away. By his mid-20s, Andy's once unstoppable career was falling apart. His personal life also carried heartbreak. At just 18, Andy married his Australian girlfriend Kim Reeder. But the pressures of fame quickly tore them apart, and the marriage ended in divorce less than 2 years later. Just 10 days after their split, Kim gave birth to their daughter Peta. Andy, consumed by his career and struggles, was rarely present in her life. Reports suggest he met his daughter only once in 1981, a bittersweet encounter that never developed into a lasting relationship. Peta grew up in Australia, far removed from her father's world of music and fame. Still, despite his troubles, Andy never lost his dream of making a comeback. In 1987, he entered rehab again, hopeful that this time he could break free from his demons. With renewed determination, he returned to the recording studio. He recorded 4 songs, including Man on Fire and Arrow Through the Heart. These tracks carried raw emotion, reflecting both his pain and his desire to rise again. Tragically, Andy never lived to see their release. Arrow Through the Heart would later be remembered as the last song he ever recorded. By the late 1980s, Andy's situation worsened. Addiction, depression, and financial struggles plagued him. In 1987, he declared bankruptcy, a devastating blow for someone who had once been on top of the music world. His health was deteriorating, though few understood the full extent. Publicly, it seemed like Andy was just another star undone by excess. But the reality, revealed years later, was far more complex. On March 10, 1988, just 5 days after his 30th birthday, Andy Gibb suddenly died. The official cause was heart failure, but speculation quickly spread.
Could years of substance abuse have destroyed his body, or was there something deeper? For decades, the truth remained clouded in mystery, with his family offering only brief, careful words about his struggles. Fans were left with fragments, trying to piece together what had really gone wrong. Then, 37 years later, a clearer picture began to emerge. Friends, former colleagues, and even medical professionals who had treated Andy spoke out, sharing details long kept private. The revelations were heartbreaking. Andy's health issues weren't only the result of drugs and alcohol. He had also been suffering from severe emotional and mental health challenges, struggles that, in the 1980s, were poorly understood and heavily stigmatized. His downward spiral wasn't just about fame or addiction. It was also about loneliness, insecurity, and the crushing weight of living in the shadow of the Bee Gees. Perhaps the most painful truth was that Andy had been close to turning his life around more than once. There were periods when he was sober, optimistic, and working on new music. He spoke about his dreams for the future, eager for a comeback. But each time, the fragile progress collapsed under the weight of unresolved pain. He was caught in a cycle of hope and heartbreak, one that ultimately ended in tragedy. The mystery of Andy Gibb's death wasn't a single dramatic event. It was years of quiet suffering, misdiagnosis, and missed chances. His death was preventable. Had there been the kind of support, resources, and understanding we have today, Andy's story might have been different. Instead, the world lost a gentle soul, a gifted artist, and a man who had so much more to give. Andy Gibb's legacy lives on through his music, songs filled with joy, love, and vulnerability that still resonate today. He wasn't just a pop idol. He was a reminder of how fragile brilliance can be, and how even the brightest stars can sometimes burn out too soon.